A beautiful afternoon to you, and many thanks for joining us on Flipside with yours sincerely, Oloije Oyikokai. Today on Flipside, we're looking at safety precautions on our waterways. Yes, we know that of recent there have been issues of boat accidents, and people already asking, is it because these persons, they don't know how to swim? Is it because the instructor, whoever is there at that time, maybe they did not wear their lifeguard on or the jackets? So what are the reasons for these accidents in our waterways? So we want to know today on Flipside. And to do that with us is the person of Kelly Ogesoba. He is a safety instructor. Good afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
And we also have Mr. Theodore Ihanire. He is a professional lifeguard.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, quickly now, we're talking about water. Now, there is a saying, water, it no get enemy. Mr. Kelly, how true is that?
Yeah, to a very large extent.
To some extent?
Yeah, water no get enemy.
Okay.
But again, just like fire, fire is useful. But when it goes out of control, you know what that means.
Okay.
So in a controlled environment, we could do whatever we want to do with water and we'll benefit from it. But there are some very dangerous environments where water becomes a serious hazard, especially when things go out of control. And secondly, when precautionary measures are not taken to ensure that safety is something that is upheld. Again, we are not aquatic animals, and so we feel very uncomfortable sometimes when we find ourselves in the water
space. Yes.
So it's relatively safe when the right things are done.
Okay. All right, so to Mr. Theodore, water no get enemy. So what's your think on that?
Rightly, like Ambassador Kelly said, water no get enemy. But it depends on what you do with water.
Okay.
Water can be a friend. Generally, water is supposed to be a friend.
Yes.
When you look at our waterways, if you do not follow the precautionary measures, then instead of water being a friend, it can turn to an enemy.
Okay. So let's start with Mr. Kelly now. What are the most crucial safety precautions? Because you talked about precautions while you were talking about water. Now, what are the most crucial safety precautions to be taken when swimming, especially on a boat ride?
Okay. You actually mentioned two things, when swimming and also when in a boat
yes.
ride. Okay. Let's start from when swimming.
Okay.
There are swimming pools, public swimming pools, private swimming pools here and there. There are very important safety precautions to take. There are also some natural water bodies. Sometimes our children go to the river to swim. And all that. And the sad thing is that sometimes these natural water bodies like the river, there are no safe swimming areas. I mean, the areas that are safe for people to swim are not indicated. Okay. Who does that? Nobody knows. The government agency that's responsible for all of that, they don't live up to their expectation. But swimming in the swimming pool, some of the precautionary measures would mean that firstly, you don't swim alone. No matter how good a swimmer you are, just ensure you are not swimming alone. Okay. And also ensure that there's a lifeguard on duty. You must understand, you must know your limit. If you can't swim very well, you better don't go to the deep end of the swimming pool. And you must ensure that if you take kids to the swimming pools, you must ensure that they are your responsibility. No horseplay, no rough play, no jumping and all that. We've seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of incidents like that.
Yes, and so Sometimes the pool deck is slippery.
Yeah.
The ties that some of these swimming pool operators use are relatively slippery, particularly when there's water on it, and that could pose a serious hazard. And that is why it's advisable not to run around the pool deck, because when you come out of the water, come out of the swimming pool, water will literally drip on top of the pool deck, and so running around becomes very unsafe. There are quite a number of other unsafe practices that we should not engage in. But when we look at the boat transportation, let's use the incident that happened about 2 weeks ago as a case
Junior
study
Pope.
that involved Junior Pope. I've told a number of friends that, look, even as a good swimmer, it's somewhat suicidal for me to embark on a boat journey without a life jacket. It doesn't just make sense. It doesn't add up. So one of the things that we must ensure that we do on a boat journey is to ensure that we're wearing a life jacket, and we must be wearing it properly, because there's a safe way to wear the life jacket. And again, we must ensure that sometimes a lot of things happen during the journey. People take pictures, they're distracted, they do a lot of stuff during the journey. We must ensure that there's a level of soberness when you are in a boat journey, because you want to be conscious of what is happening. You don't want to be taken unaware. It's a controlled environment. It's not we are not doing this on land that we are used to. It's a water environment. And so we must be sober. We must ensure that we are conscious. We must ensure that we don't do anything that put our lives in danger. Quite a number of other things.
Okay. Now, as a safety instructor, now to Mr. Theodore, on every boat, let's say cruise or any boat's transportation, is it important to have a safety or a lifeguard on board?
Thank you very much. You see, as a safety instructor and as a safer ambassador, we are always going out to inform people about safety and emergency response ready. Whether you know it or you don't know it, accidents can happen anytime, anywhere. If you are not safety ready, then things that would have been averted, they become something drastic. Now, for the boat ride in our waterways, it is important that certain things are put in place to ensure safety. Safety is the priority. Safety is the ultimate. Apart from the life jacket, there are other precautionary measures that needs to be taken. One, it talked about some people are distracted.
With their phones.
Yes. I happen to have I spent some years in Bayelsa. I've been to the creeks and I've entered boats, and I know how it is. The driver of the boat is usually at the back, where the passengers are in front. When your boat is not supposed to be overcrowded. That's one of the precautionary measures.
Now, when you say not to be overcrowded, like how many numbers?
No, there are different sizes of boats. And the capacity.
Like our normal local boats that we have, those, the one that the fishermen use, the one that, I remember when we went to River Niger, myself and my colleague, we used a normal, local boats to pass through the River Niger. Now, for that particular one, now, how many persons are supposed to be there?
Good. Like you call it normal boat. It also depends on how many seats are on the boat. Normally, it's supposed to be 3 per seat. One at each end and one at the middle. If it has 7 rows, if it has 6 rows, just like that. But what you find in some cases, they load it, and sometimes you say you don't need to blame them because such transportations are not easily available. It may be one boat transportation to a certain community at a point in time.
Yeah.
And there are times many people will want to come in and they overcrowd it. And you know that when you overcrowd, sometimes you are blocking the visage of the driver.
Okay.
He may not even see what is going on.
Yeah.
You are taking selfie, you stand up, you block the driver. So these things must be taken into consideration.
Okay.
Life jacket cannot be overemphasized. Even if you are the best swimmer, we said water not get enemy.
Yes.
But if you try yourself and say because you are, there are some waterways that you can't swim, so you need to have. Then it is also advisable that you check the weather before you go out sailing. Okay. I remember I can recall an incident while we were traveling. At the middle of the journey, rain started falling. Do you know what?
The sea level rises.
They gave us tarpaulin. We covered ourselves inside the boat. Only the driver was seeing what was. We didn't know what was happening. Things like that are not supposed to be so. You have to ensure that, just like the airways, the flight, the weather conditions are also taken into consideration. Then your boat or whatever you are using, your vessel, must have essential safety materials.
Okay.
Essential safety materials. Do you know that with these safety measures we are telling people, you can resuscitate somebody. You can resuscitate somebody. You can have these essential safety measures or equipment in your boat, like the flare gun.
Okay.
You know, when you watch film, you see some people stranded in some places. They want to alert people that, you know, okay, some people can be stranded. Maybe the fuel they were using got finished at the middle of the sea. It can happen.
Yes.
Then the boat start drifting apart. So how do you send signal? So these are some of the things that you need. First aid kit.
Yeah.
Very essential, whether in the boat, whether in the office. First aid kit is something that most of us we forget in a whether in a home, in a building, in a facility. It is easy to forget a first aid kit.
Okay.
So these are very, very important. And I would also want to add, the government should make legislations, good legislations for our waterways, safety on our waterways. And these legislations need to be followed.
Okay.
It's not enough to make legislation. Look at what you are saying. Look at how just one person is wearing a life jacket.
Life jacket.
It's crowded. Imagine if anything happens. What are you going to do at this point? So our legislation should be solid. Should be solid. Law enforcement. We have law enforcement, but do they actually have the willpower? Do they actually monitor these people? They can just say, okay, you are going, you can go. So these are things you have to put in place to ensure that there is safety on our waterways.
Okay, now you were talking about fuel getting finished at the middle of the sea.
Yeah.
Now, it brings to mind when I went to Vanida. I will keep on emphasizing and talking about that instance every day. Now, I had to ask someone, the boat rider, is he a good swimmer? If anything happens at that particular time, what will happen to me that I don't even know how to swim? Now, every boat rider, can they, in an issue of boat accidents now, can they actually save the persons who can't swim on board? Now, that goes to Mr. Kelly.
Okay.
And are they all experts in swimming?
Ideally, every boat driver should be an expert swimmer.
Yes.
Every boat driver should understand basic rescue techniques.
Okay.
Every boat driver should understand how to manage emergency.
Yeah.
It is very important. Let me at this point mention that in Nigeria, there's an agency that is, government agency that's responsible for ensuring that the boat drivers are trained and certified. And if the boat drivers are trained and certified, it therefore means that they are able to respond effectively during emergency. Having said that, it is not possible for an efficient boat driver to rescue everybody on board.
Okay.
That is why, particularly when nobody is wearing a life jacket, if we have a boat and we have, let's say, about 20 people in the boat, speedboat, and no one is wearing a life jacket,
and no one can swim,
it's going to be a miracle for just one single individual to rescue 20 persons who cannot swim and they are not wearing a life jacket. That is you'll be asking for too much to rely on the boat driver. That is why the importance of wearing a life jacket and wearing it properly cannot be overemphasized. It is very important. Again, another thing is that you mentioned having, if there's need to have a lifeguard on board. That is another very important aspect. Again, let's look at our case study, the boat accident that happened about 2 weeks ago. Obviously, there was no lifeguard on board.
And they weren't even wearing any life jackets.
They were not wearing life jackets. I was telling somebody, it's difficult for me not to see going into a boat journey without a life jacket as a suicide mission.
But are all life jackets good enough? Because I know there are some, you just see them, the things that embodies the life jackets are no longer there. They are worn out, they have been used over time, and no replacements.
Good.
So will that still be efficient when these things happen?
Of course not. The effectiveness of the life jacket must have the question at that particular time. Again, I just mentioned that there is a government agency. NIMASA is supposed to be responsible for regulating boat operations, regulating operations, transport operations in the sea. And so who ensures that the life jackets are still
functioning,
are good enough to be used? Somebody should ensure that, somebody should not just promote the life jacket, the speedboat itself. Who ensures that these speedboats, they are
still up to standard?
Up to standard at every given time. There should be a routine check from time to time. There's a government agency responsible for that. So life jacket is very important. It's on this studio, the last time I came, that we talked about whether a life jacket can actually ensure that you are safe. Then I said, life jacket is actually to keep you relatively safe for a given period of time, depending on several other factors. We talked about weather. The weather could actually complicate issues for those in the distress situation. But again, what is important is that we wear a good life jacket and we wear it properly. And another thing that is also very significant is what I would like to call induction. Is there anything like an induction? We see in our public transportation parks, for instance, as soon as the vehicle is full, we see a preacher comes around to preach and let's say, you understand, journey message. Do you know we can do that in relation to safety? When there's an emergency, how do we respond? How are those in the vehicle, how are those in the boat, how would they respond?
Ambassador Kelly, sorry to, what you just said now is akin to what is done on flight. You know, as you enter the flight, they tell you, in case of emergency, this is what you do. You go through the left, there's a bag behind you, this is how to wear it. I believe that is what is supposed also to be done, kind of pre-training before you embark on it.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's-
And we don't find that.
We don't.
We don't. They just tell you, yeah, enter inside the boat and, okay, hold yourself.
If we do that, if we stick to that tradition,
Yeah.
I can assure you that it's going to make those in the boat maintain a certain level of decorum, soberness, so that it's like the mind is prepared to respond to an emergency. You may never know about what to do in an emergency, but that's about 3, 4, 5 minutes talk before you board or before the boat leaves the shore. Prepares you.
Yes.
Do this, do XYZ when XYZ happen. Do this, do this. Ensure that your life jacket is intact, where it, at no point should you put off the strap and all that. All of these small tips, these bullet points could go a long way to ensure that they respond, those in the boat respond during emergency effectively so that the situation does not escalate.
Okay, okay. Now, I also remember again, while we're about boarding the boat, I was scared at first, and the boat rider said, what's wrong with this one, sir? Enter now, you know, since small children, they're entering, every day they enter the boat and they cross this river. And I was like, seriously, without a life jacket? And he said, yes, now, what's there? How many minutes you have crossed? Now, how many minutes, Pope, Junior Pope, and this also happened. Now, in that case, now you talked about, now we'll talk about first aid. Because different stories came up about the Pope, Junior Pope issue, that he was still alive before they took him to a particular place and before taking him to the hospital. Anyway, that aside, we'll come to that. Now, you talked about the alert gun, something like, do we have a watchtower in Nigeria? Like a place like, okay, River Niger now, for instance. It's a big, very, very big river. It is a big river. Now, there is supposed to be something that you find someone going there every day to check what's happening in the river. And if there's an emergency, they will be able to get to rescue those persons on time. Do we have those things in Nigeria? Or in our waterways?
In our waterways. Well, so far, with what I've seen, I doubt if we have it, but I think Nimasa may tell us it is there. But if you go into the interiors, if you go into the interiors, I have my doubts concerning such things. But another thing I should also say is this attitude of our people.
Yeah, matters a lot.
Just imagine them telling you, enter now. See,
no, maybe to them it was a way of encouragement.
Well. I don't see it as that because they see it as everyday life.
Yes.
You know, they do it every day.
Yes.
And this our slang, nothing they happen.
Nothing they happen.
You know, this kind of a program is actually needed to go deep, penetrate deep, not just for enlightening people. We should have series of these lectures, series of these trainings to let the people, one, have a change of attitude towards safety. Our people have a very poor attitude towards safety, lackadaisic nature. They just, doesn't matter. Some people will even tell you, something must kill a man. You know, so with this kind of, back to your question, if we have something like that, like the watchtower, you call it for aircraft, I think we should have something like that, so that when such an occurrence happens, they will be quick enough to...
Yes, quick intervention.
But do you know, our waterways are not that easy for you to navigate easily. Like you go for some boat ride, you see water hyacinths. Some of our waterways have not been cleared for a long time. And these water hyacinths you find on top of the river or sea or whatever it is are very dangerous. You see, the propeller. The propeller, you can just.
It actually happened. It happened while we were going on the journey. And the boat rider had to come down to remove the grass from the propeller and all of that. Then all already I was shouting blood of Jesus.
I have experienced it. In one of our programs that we were monitoring in Bayelsa. God so kind. A reporter was there with us to monitor the what was going on. As we were going, a reed just, thank God the reed was so not that, took the propeller, and before we knew it, we faced where we were coming from. So many things. But these drivers that are indigenous, they tell you they know the route.
Yes.
Don't worry, they know the route.
Just to encourage you.
If we can have this pep talk with them regularly before people board the boats, tell them, look, very simple. Before you know it, everybody will be aware. Everybody will be safety conscious to do whatever that is needful at any point in time. So that's that.
Okay. All right. We will be going on a short break right now, and when we'll come back, we'll start talking about safety on our waterways. Should someone that, like me, that I have zero experience on swimming or how to swim, should someone like me ever dare to go close to the water? Ever?
Sure, with the right person on ground to ensure your safety, with the right short information, you could. When you say go into the water, are you talking about the swimming pool?
The swimming pool, the boat, and all of that?
Yeah, if there's a lifeguard on duty.
Okay, so once there's a lifeguard on duty, I'm sure that my life is safe.
That's just one.
100% safe.
Not 100%.
That's
not
just
100%.
One. Yeah, not 100%.
Okay. All right. Okay. No problem. Not 100%. We'll call it. Let's just pause right now.
Okay.
When we'll come back after the short break, we'll get more on the talk about if we should, or if someone that doesn't know how to swim like myself dare to go through or dare to go into the river.
Authorities in Oman said at least 18 people have been killed by floods. Several states recorded nearly a year's worth of rain in a day. Videos from Dubai International Airport appear to show jets leaving waves in their wake as they made their way down flooded runways. In a statement, the airport said inbound flights due to arrive on Tuesday evening had been diverted due to the continued exceptional weather event currently being experienced in the UAE. Departures would continue to operate as flights later restarted after an interruption of about 2 hours. On Tuesday morning, the UAE's National Center of Meteorology issued a weather warning for large swaths of the country, including Abu Dhabi, Dubai and Sharjah. The Gulf region is usually known for hot and dry weather, though heavy rains causing flooding have also occurred with greater regularity in recent years. In neighboring Oman, authorities said the death toll from flash floods had increased to 18, with some still missing. In Bahrain, footage showed cars stranded in flooded roads. Scientists have linked the unusual weather to climate change, saying exceptional storms will become more common in future as the planet warms. Osemujame Osagi, RTV News.
All right, thank you so much for rejoining us, and we're talking about safety on waterways. Like, what happened in Dubai of recent now? So many things went wrong. Industries, life, and you found issues of so many persons not even knowing how to swim, not even knowing how to navigate their ways on the issue that's erupted in Dubai concerning flooding. And funny enough, it was just a day's rain that caused that magnitude. Now, if it's a sudden incident that happened, now will you advise everyone to learn how to swim? Ambassador Kelly.
Okay, swimming, it's a life skill. Knowing how to swim is a life skill, it's a survival skill. So it's something everybody should learn. But again, it's not possible for everybody to know how to swim.
True.
The question we must begin to ask is, the area where you live, is it prone to flooding?
Flood, yeah.
and if it's prone to flooding, who tells you that this area is prone to flooding? Then if the agency responsible for forecasting the weather tells you that there's a likelihood that there's going to be a flood in your area in a particular year, then what should be done is to make plans to leave that neighborhood at least for some time, for the season. So when in safety, there's something we call the act of God. Why accidents are caused by unsafe act, that's one of the first one, the major one. The second cause of accident is what we call unsafe condition. But there's a 2% likelihood of accident being caused by what we call the act of God. That's a natural disaster. You can't predict the occurrence sometimes. But that is why we have agencies saddled with the responsibility to forecast, to tell us that this would happen or is likely to happen within this period, within this particular geographical area. Then people around that area should make plans to vacate the area within that period and maybe relocate back after the season is over. For a major disaster like that to happen, it's not just a lapses on the part of one person. It's not just because you don't know how to swim, or it must be a chain of people not doing their responsibility. 1, 2, 3, 4 people failing in their responsibility, their safety responsibility. And that's why a natural disaster like that can happen.
Cool. Okay, all right. So I actually did a short video concerning what happened in Dubai of recent. So let's go over to take a look at it. We'll be right back after the short break. Flooding in Dubai. The storm initially struck Oman before intensifying and hitting the United Arab Emirates, UAE, leading to poor outage and disrupting air travel. Reports said that at least 20 individuals lost their lives in Oman due to the heavy rainfall. A record-breaking of 254 millimeters, 10 inches of the rainfall was recorded in Al Ain, a city bordering Oman. The UAE and the wider Arabian Peninsula have arid desert climates, and rainfall is rare. The region's lack of adequate drainage system exacerbated the impact of heavy rainfall, resulting in flooded roads and infrastructure damage. Following the deluge speculation, however, experts suggest that the significant rainfall was likely due to a conventional weather system that was exacerbated by climate change. The last time Dubai experienced a downpour of this magnitude was 75 years ago. The recent downpour was the highest in 75 years, and more than a year's worth of rain falling in a single day. The heavy rain caused widespread flooding in Dubai, with many areas experiencing waterlogging and disruption of daily lives. The flooding led to the temporary closure of Dubai International Airport, with flights delayed or cancelled due to weather condition. The flooding resulted in at least 18 deaths in neighboring Oman, and one man was swept away by flood waters in Dubai. The flooding caused significant damage to the city's infrastructure, with many roads and buildings affected. Experts have attributed the extreme weather event to climate change, which is leading to more frequent and intense natural disasters worldwide. All right, so Kelly, now we have seen the issue of Dubai, what happened in Dubai, and Mr. Theodore. Now, in that case, do you feel there would have been a precautionary measure to be taken in issues like that?
Definitely. Like what Ambassador Kelly said, that can be termed as an act of God, in quote. But from the analysis, it has happened before.
Yes, 75 years ago.
75 years ago. Now, the people responsible, did they do due diligence to what ought to be done? What do I mean? It happened 75 years ago.
Yeah.
And did they just feel that it may not happen again?
Or maybe it was a one-off thing.
It was a one-off thing. It's so surprising that in a country like Dubai, this is happening. A country where I feel they are technologically advanced. They should have a good drainage system in anticipation for things like this. Let me come back to Nigeria. The first flood that happened in Nigeria, we say we were caught unawares.
Yes.
I happened to have been in Bayelsa then. My house was flooded, everything. After that, what were we supposed to do? All our drainages that were blocked, all the waterways that houses have been built that cause obstructions for water flow, what are we supposed to do? Sentiments should be removed. If there are buildings along such water paths, they should be removed, they should be brought down. Then these gullies that have been blocked by debris and every other thing should be excavated in anticipation. So I'm just surprised that Dubai didn't anticipate this. They didn't. Maybe they did. Maybe their preparedness was not enough to counter what had to come. But it has happened. I think not only Dubai should learn from this. The whole world should learn from this. This is why we are talking about safety, emergency response ready. You have to be ready because you don't know what happens next. So I believe everyone watching now will be an eye-opener so that we know what to do next. And this should be cascaded to Nigeria where we are. A little rain falls, the whole street, the whole road, everywhere is flooded, houses. Just because of measures that are supposed to be taken that are not taken. Imagine people, see, the people are even part of the problem. You see people, rain is falling, they go out, pour their dirt in the, how, who does that? At the end, you complain.
You blame the government.
I talked about legislation. Legislation. If we have strong legislation, just like traveling in the waterway, there's a mandatory wearing of life jacket, making it mandatory. Even the driver, if you are the best swimmer, as long as it has been made mandatory, you wear it. If you don't wear it, it becomes an offense. These are the things we should look at. The NIMASA and whatever, let everybody come alive to their responsibilities. Once those things are done, we can at least, we know we will not be 100% safe, but at least we will be above average. But we leave the rest for God.
Okay, so Kelly, what do you have to say about what actually happened in Dubai?
Okay, interestingly, when I see things like this, some of us are tempted to believe that God has some special love for us, because just imagine
that's Nigeria, as a Nigerian.
Yeah, just imagine that happened in my country. The reason is because those of us in the safety profession, we understand that the average Nigerian, including the government and its agency, is not inclined to do the right thing when it comes to safety and emergency response. But again, for things like this, I'm not sure whether it was forecasted or not. Again, we don't have that information.
If there was a pre-notice,
pre-notice about this disaster, we are not sure. But again, I'm sure they responded relatively well compared to what would have happened in third world countries. It's natural disaster. That is why it is called a natural disaster. Most times it happens, and if there's no good emergency management preparation on ground, it could actually take. I did a course on disaster management. So the definition of the disaster as it is goes to show that most times it stretches beyond what the state can handle at that particular time. And so sometimes even if there's a foreknowledge of the incident, it could still be difficult to reduce the effect. I'm sure they did their best in managing that situation.
Okay. All right, so while I was prepping for this program, I got some persons who were talking. Now, someone said when it comes to boat accidents, immediately it happens, you need to pull your shoes. If you are on trousers, you turn out the pockets. There are some things, anyway, they were just saying. So I want to know, as an experienced person, now let's start with Ambassador Theodore, yes, Governor, Edo Region, SAFA Ambassador. So now, in the case of boat accidents, and what should be the first thing that someone should do? What should be the first response that you should take as precautionary measures?
Once it has happened, or before it happens?
Once it has happened, it has happened.
When it happens, now, being on your life jacket and wearing it properly is one thing. Then, be calm in the waters.
Oh.
I
should be calm in the water.
Yeah.
Like I should be calm.
You think that's not possible?
Already praying for my life.
Yes, you know, when you are calm,
there's
this tendency, it's not a tendency, you float.
Okay.
You float.
So you have to take a deep breath.
Because the reason for the life jacket is for you to stay afloat.
So in the case there is no life jacket, what should I do? Should I still be calm?
Okay, let me quickly come in here. As a safety professional, my number one passion is any safety or any training that has to do with the water environment.
Yeah.
So I've been privileged to do a lot of training. There's one we call BOSIET, Basic Offshore Safety Induction and Emergency Training. That is what is required if someone is to go offshore for a job. There's another one, we call it HUET, Helicopter Underwater Escape Training. That is a training that prepares an individual in case a chopper ditches into the sea.
Okay.
Now, in an emergency, in a boat emergency, what should be done? That is the question. Again, I talked about induction. If you have an induction before the journey, then your mind, in 5 minutes, you can communicate some very useful skills. That is if there is no training before then. There are quite a number of trainings that boat operators, even individuals, can participate in to prepare them for an emergency such as that. Okay. So when there's a boat, let's use the boat now as a case study. When there's a boat accident, life jacket, he has mentioned life jacket, we've mentioned the use of life jacket.
Wait, Mr. Kelly. I am saying in the case where there is no life jacket.
I'm going there.
Okay,
I'm going
fine,
there.
Fine,
in this
fine.
case, there is no life jacket.
Yes.
Now, there's something called a life raft. A life raft is an inflatable device that as soon as there is an accident, you could deploy it. It's like a balloon.
Okay.
You can deploy it into the water.
I'm itching to say something. I know. Because in the case of Junior Pope and so many others, we don't get to see these things.
I'm going there. You can deploy it. You have it in every chopper, in every helicopter.
Oh, okay. You're talking about helicopter.
No, I'm talking about it should be in the life in the boat.
Oh.
It should be in the boat.
Okay.
So that when there's an emergency, there is something you deploy so that everybody in the
Can
boat
be on that.
can evacuate. There's a procedure to evacuate the distressed boat and board the life raft.
So can we come to reality?
We are talking reality.
Okay. All right.
We can. I know your fears, but calm down.
I'm calm. I'm calm. At least I'm not in the water.
That's good.
So I'm calm.
That's good. So you can deploy it, and one after the other, you can
evacuate. Okay.
No life jacket.
No.
That is where a lifeguard comes in. If there's somebody who is trained to manage emergencies, so that person becomes responsible in coordinating the evacuation from the distress life boat to the life raft.
Okay.
If there is no life jacket, once again, there are some floatable devices that you could get. Like in our case study 2 weeks ago, they said Junior Pope had a jerry can. Somebody threw a jerry can to him.
Okay.
With a jerry can, you could stay afloat. If you are not,
is it
if you are
supposed
not
to be
tensed.
on top,
You
or
could
just
holding it. If you try to climb and go on top, there's a likelihood that you will turn. So just hold it and you can. Again, this is where prep talk comes in. If somebody tells you that when you are in this kind of situation, when you do this, this is what would happen. So don't do this. So your mind is prepared. So there are a lot of things that can go wrong. The what if question, you ask all the questions and you provide answers, very short, important information before the ride. So he was having a jerry can, but again, they said, according to the story, I don't know how true, he was so concerned about others, he was talking, he was apprehensive at the point, and all of a sudden, they could not find him.
So that brings to what you said, you need to be calm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember in our last program, what the issue I had with the life jacket thing. If you are not calm, even when you are wearing a good life jacket, you are going to struggle and struggle. And the more you struggle, the more you want to go down. And by the time your face enters the water, your mind tells you this life jacket is not working. So when your mind tells you the life jacket is not working, then you keep struggling and trying to help yourself. And the more you struggle, the more you go down. And again, when you go down to a certain point, only God knows what will happen from there. So that's the issue with the life jacket. Any other float, it is sad that we would have a boat and we don't have life jacket and we don't have anything to take care of emergency. Whether it's a life raft like I mentioned before, or any other thing, just in case there's an emergency. Another thing I also want to point out is that when there's a boat accident and there's no life jacket, whether there's a life jacket or no life jacket, we are inclined to want to run away or struggle away from the distressed boat. That's the wrong thing to do. The boat, let's assume that the boat turns, everybody falls off. The natural tendency is for you to say, okay, this boat wants to kill me, and so you try to struggle away. But meanwhile, it is important to hang on.
To the boat?
Hang on to the boat.
Okay.
The boat will not go down immediately. It will float at least for some time. And it's even possible to upturn, to turn the boat. It's possible if you have the right training, if you are able to. The importance of staying calm at that particular time is key. It's very important. So if you have at least two persons, maybe the lifeguard and the boat driver, who understands their skill.
The rudiments.
Yes, they could actually turn the boat. And everybody comes on board. Again, they rescue as much as they can rescue. If they are able to rescue everyone, fine. They rescue people back into the boat, minding the propeller and all that. There's a lot of other technicalities around it. So it is important when there is no life jacket, there should be something. And don't swim away, don't struggle away from the boat. Just hang on. You could just be there, who knows, in the next 2-3 minutes help may just come. So when help comes,
I believe you watched Titanic.
Yes.
You saw what the guy did.
Yes.
There was something he could hold on to, and he was calm.
Okay. All right, so your last take on the safety on our waterways. So let's start with Mr. Theodore Ihanire, who is a professional lifeguard and Governor Edo Region Safer Ambassador. So your
Well,
advice to everyone?
My
quickly.
advice to everyone is be safety conscious
Yeah.
and follow all the necessary precautions that have been given.
Okay.
Then you are good to go.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Kelly Ugesoba.
Okay, thank you. The last time I was here, when you asked me my final word, I think that was World Drowning Prevention Day last year.
Yeah.
I remember I told you I don't have any advice for our parents because you asked in relation to our parents. And I told you I have a simple message for the government and its agency. It is important that the government and its agency start doing what is right. For instance, I belong to a group on Facebook. Everybody in that group is a first aid and a CPRO instructor in America, not in Nigeria, in America. What happens is that there are policies on ground that ensures that as soon as you employ, your workers are trained on first aid and CPRO.
Yeah.
So if you are working in America, there's a tendency that you understand basic first aid at least and CPRO.
Okay.
Like in this incident, nobody performed CPRO. CPRO would have resuscitated Junior Pope.
Okay.
Now what happens is that the policies are there, and there are government agencies that implement, that drive the policy. What happens is that goes a long way to create job. We now have people having training centers to talk about job creation. So people now set up training centers, and what they do is that they train on first aid and CPR. That is their business. What stops us from doing the same? If we do the same, the policies are there, in the international organizations are there to set up the policy. All we need to do is to adopt and implement. Nevertheless, I'm sure we have all of these policies on paper. Our issue is on implementation. There are compromises here and there when it comes to implementation. So please, our government and its agency, we must begin to implement whatever policies we have as it relates to safety generally and emergency response, and in this case on our waterways, and we'll get better.
All right. Thank you so much. It has been an eye-opener, like you said. Remain calm, no matter the situation. The key word is to remain...
Stay calm.
To stay calm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it has been an exciting time today on Flipside. You got educated, informed, and definitely now you know when it happens. You just need to stay calm. So I'll be seeing you again next week for another exciting time. Do have yourself a blessed day. Bye for now.